Today, we're talking about the spiritual discipline of fasting. What do we mean by fasting as a spiritual discipline? Well, fasting is self denial of normal functions of life, self denial of appetites and attachments for the sake of our life with God. When we think of fasting, we often think about fasting from food, which is the normal way the Bible talks about it, and the thing we tend to think of first. But we can fast from many other things as well. But first, let's take a very brief look at fasting in the Bible. We see in the Old Testament fasting for times of mourning, for community repentance. We see people prayed and fasted when they were asking God for something that really mattered to them. We see that Jesus began his public ministry with a 40-day fast, and Paul fasted at the time of his conversion. We see the early church fasting for discernment and wisdom. We see people praying and fasting for healing. Now, Jesus is our great example of the Christian life, and he clearly had a practice of fasting and obviously expected his disciples would fast because he said to them, when you fast, not if you fast. Now, let's take a brief look at the spiritual discipline of fasting for our own transformation into the likeness of Christ. I think fasting is actually about freedom. And that might sound a bit counterintuitive, but actually, all the spiritual disciplines are about freedom. With the help of spiritual disciplines, as more and more we're transformed into the likeness of Christ, we become more and more free of the sin and the unhealth and the things that entangle us. And this is definitely the case with fasting. Fasting is about self-denial, about giving something up we like for a certain period of time. We might fast from food, from certain kinds of food, alcohol, social media, shopping, watching Netflix, technology, maybe even things like talking judgmentally about people. When we fast something for a period of time, it can be quite a shock to discover we are far more attached to those things than we realized. It can show us what controls us. And fasting can help loosen the grip of that control. It can help us become free. Fasting is an act of self-emptying. It helps us empty out the clutter we have in our souls, the stuff that we fill ourselves up with. And as we empty out, we can open up to God. We can be filled afresh by God. Fasting isn't easy, but it is a liberating and transformative spiritual discipline. I wonder, what would be good for you to fast from? I know I have things that are good for me to fast from. Let's each of us ask God what we should fast from, and then wisely practice a fast. And like Jesus, make fasting part of our rhythm of spiritual practice.